Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Collins. How are you?
Hi, hey, Verdaillia. Hey, Ms. Turner, how are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. And thank you for meeting us today. With me, I have a 41-year veteran teacher that last school she served was at Sutton Middle School. She's on the Atlanta Federation of Teachers Executive Board, and this is Ms. Frankie Long.
Hey, Ms. Long. Nice to meet
I
you.
also have with me Ron Fowler, Executive Director of the Georgia Federation of Teachers. Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you.
And we might have another person join us, veteran teacher Ramonia Toombs, if she comes in. So we're just gonna jump right in. Have you been interviewed yet by Atlanta Labor Council, North Georgia Central Labor Council?
No, I have not.
Okay. Wow. So we're gonna ask you to, I'm trying to see what I did with that number, to call over there and ask for two people, Sandra Williams and Rita Scott.
Okay, yeah.
Rita does not work there, but she's part of the interviewing team, but I want you to ask for both.
Okay.
It is my understanding that they're supposed to make recommendations to the larger body. They're doing something tomorrow night as it relates to Atlanta races. And it could be just about city council, but we think the school board might be also in that. But here's the labor council number. Okay. 404 525. Okay. 35 59.
3559. Okay, great. I'll give them a call as soon as we jump off.
Okay, having served on the board a few years now, tell us two very good things, very positive things about the board, and tell us two negative things about it.
Two negative things about the board about our work.
Two positive things about this board and two negative things about this board.
Yeah, so I would say serving on the board for the last 8 years for 2 terms. What I will say the positive thing about this board, I will start by saying this board, every member on this board has either been a teacher, educator themselves, or our parent or a parent with children in Atlanta public schools. And so when you think about some of the priorities and some of the work that needs to happen, there's a different lens that comes from being a former educator or currently an educator in the space, or even parents or a parent with children in Atlanta public schools, where we are making decisions that are in the best interest of our children. The second part of that, and I think is also the flow of it, the atmosphere and the environment that we have together is one of, we are teen kids. And so it does in fact eliminate a lot of the extra conversations and other interests that does not serve our families, our children, nor our teachers and staff well. And so I would say the second thing about this board is the fact that we are laying priorities and establishing priorities that are focusing on equity, that are focusing on addressing all of the disparities that are in our district, also addressing issues of how our workforce and our labor force has been treated throughout previous years, in which we launched a huge compensation effort to right size that. In regards to what you would say are two bad things about the board, I wouldn't necessarily say that there are two bad things. What I will say is that the board is evolving. We have new board members. We do have new board members where there is a there's the growth piece that is taking place as we are again learning each other, but also aligning all of our priorities together, which I think happens when you have group dynamics and you have and when you're serving on a board with multiple people.
Thank you so much. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, that's fine. Yes.
All right, now we are recording this because we're going to share it with the greater community.
No problem.
All right. Tell us two pros and two cons about Teach for America.
Two pros and two cons about Teach for America. Well, I'll first say I'm an alumni of Teach for America. I did Teach for America about 19 years ago as a graduate coming out of Spelman College. So and from there, one of the pros of TFA, and I share my story, I was a psychology pre-med major out of Spelman, but I also served as a Bonner Scholar and was a teacher assistant at Dean Rusk Elementary while I was in college. And I knew I wanted to go into education, and I knew I wanted to become a teacher, but I also had committed my 4 years and even my sophomore year, started my sophomore year, to a curriculum, to a pre-med and psychology curriculum where it was very difficult for me to change to become an education major. And because I was in the classroom and I did have the experience, Teach for America gave me the opportunity to enter the field of education by starting as a teacher. And so my experience with TFA, where I taught 4th and 5th grade at A.D. Williams and Bowen Homes, what became as an organization, a 2-year commitment became for me a 5-year commitment in the classroom. Left and pursued educational policy as a law student, work for an education nonprofit now, and also serve on the board in the same city that I grew up in and represent communities, the same communities that I taught in. And so I would say, for me, that was one of the that was 2 of the positives for TFA, giving me the space and opportunity to enter education, and also putting me on a path of where I'm still in education today. What 2 of the negatives, I wouldn't say the negatives, but I think 2 of the criticisms that they get that I haven't had the experience about, or had the experience, is the 2-year commitment, because it is a AmeriCorps program. What I do think happens is there's a lot of conversations of a lot of TFA alums that actually stayed in education. A lot of us are in our 19th and 20 year still in education to this day. And so, so that's all I have on that.
Okay, thank you. How long did you teach?
I taught 5 years elementary. Then I taught collegiate at Georgia State for 4 years. And then I am with Jumpstart, the National Early Education nonprofit, where I train early education teachers now.
Okay. So is that the nonprofit that you work for, Jumpstart?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also, in your opinion, what makes a master teacher?
In my opinion, what makes a master teacher is a combination of, I definitely think a combination of experience, training, menteeship. And I definitely felt directly supported from not only my principal, my assistant principal at that time, and even when I pursued my master's in educational leadership at Georgia State under Dr. Krim McClendon, the late Dr. Krim McClendon, and Dr. Asa Hilliard. And so I think a combination of those things, also in understanding culturally relevant pedagogy, critical thinking, and design thinking, and some of those key theories and pedagogies are key in becoming a master teacher. So yeah.
Okay. How could Atlanta Public Schools better serve the needs of principals, in your opinion there?
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yep, no problem. One thing I've really been a big proponent of is autonomy, flexibility, and freedom of our principals to be able to lead our schools. They are on the ground level of interaction with our children, interaction with our families, and interaction with our communities. And one thing that I have pushed as a board member has been to empower them and give them more autonomy, and more freedom to make decisions at the school level, whether it is from budget, curriculum practices, teacher support, staff building, whatever that looks like. I have been a firm proponent of pushing that. It was also part of the efforts that over the years in regards to pushing a lot of the autonomy down to our schools for that very reason. I represent an area, District 6, where that was a huge cry out from our leaders, is wanting that autonomy to make decisions at the school level and not feeling pressured and burdened from downtown, or downtown, or from the top in regards to instituting things that may not be the best fit for the children and the families that they serve.
Okay, how are principals chosen?
How are principals selected? So one of the things that we did do, and the traditional way, I won't get into that, but our principals, they apply, there's an application process. We also, over the terms of being as a board member, we did create a principal pipeline where there are teachers or leaders in the district that wanted to become on the path of being a principal. There is an actual principal pipeline program. We never had that before. So that's a program that's been in place for the last for this will be the 5th year that we're actually doing that program. And so you do have like a traditional application process. If there are leaders that want to become principals, we have our principal pipeline. And then of course you have leaders within the schools that are ready to take their leadership to the next level, where they are actually, you know, vetted through whether it's the associate soup and go through that process to be hired.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Atlanta, so I grew up in the East Atlanta area. I grew up, and I share my story with everyone. I grew up at the corner of 2nd Avenue and Glenwood, and at a time where, you know, right down the street was Eastlake Meadows, and my mother was a single mom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I taught East Atlanta High School from East.
Yeah. So when I was there, my zone school was Eastlake Elementary, Coyne Middle School, and Southside High School, which is now Jackson. And so that's where I grew up. Most of my family relocated to Decatur. That's when a lot of families were transitioning from Decatur out to Stone Mountain, and that's where my mother lives now. I live in the city in Southwest Atlanta.
Who actually makes the decision to hire principals? The reason I'm saying that is because when all my hair was brown, we did have a leadership program pipeline to administration. We had all of that. Frankly saying, yeah, we know those programs existed before, but who actually makes the decision to hire the principal?
Yeah, so those, and so I don't know if you're aware of, you've had those conversations. We still have that pipeline available, and even the interviews we've actually instituted on our Go Teams interview panels at our schools to help select principals as well. So where the community at the school level serve on the interview panels, those recommendations go through the associate soup and the administration, and the superintendent makes those final recommendations for principals to the board, for the board to approve.
Thank you so much. Very good. Now, teachers have due process. That doesn't mean you can't fire a teacher. Of course, you already know that by the time they get their fourth full contract, they serve 4 years. So we say it's a sorry administrator, or either one that's politically loaded for bear, when they are either getting rid of good teachers or they don't know a teacher that's not pulling their weight. So we fully support due process. I remember when due process was taken away from principals, and there are some pros and cons about that, but principals are supposed to be, by definition, super teachers, actually lead teachers. So in order for principals to really freely speak out, do you see that, or any teacher, do you think that as a board member that there could be a better way for principals to fully speak out and their jobs be protected in regards to what they need at the school, and to be able to function more so in synergy with the staff there at school? How could we improve that?
Yeah, I think principal voice matters, and definitely principal voice can be improved by creating those mechanisms in place. Now, the due process piece was not removed during our tenure, so I want to be very clear that
we know that state, but we're just bringing it out for this reporting to let folks know that principals aren't protected. You know, we can say great things and we believe them, but when the rubber meets the road,
thank you, ma'am. Yeah, so, but I just want to make that clear, because I don't want anyone to think that we as a board remove that due process piece from it. So I do think there are mechanisms that do need to be in place, and systems that are in place to provide more voice for principals. There has been, you know, and I don't know what that looks, I can't give you exact examples of what that looks like, but I do firmly believe as we move more for autonomy and flexibility to our principals, inherently you do create more systems and mechanisms of voice. Now, in regards to the job protection piece, we definitely should, I think there definitely should be a deeper examination in that space, and understanding what the reason why due process was removed for principals. But I do think there are mechanisms that we can create and even magnify to continue principal voice.
Okay, thank you so much. Inside of Atlanta Public Schools, as it relates to employees, there are various organizations, maybe about 5 or 6, could be about 12 or 15 now, but we know there are many. And basically they are different in so many areas. Excluding the administration, meaning the superintendent and our board, handpicking an advisory team just themselves, based on, I don't know what the criteria would be, and or having an ombudsman. How do you think employees should be included in the policy making of Atlanta school board, and how important is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Teacher voice is extremely important. A lot of the issues, we have certain advisory boards. Like I said, we created our go teams where we have teacher designating, and this is beyond the PTA, but our actual go teams, which is our governance teams at the school level, to capture teacher voice. We also lean to, and I don't know what the conversations have been with AFT, but we do lean to union leadership to help to inform us on things that are happening where teachers may not feel comfortable talking about it.
But we usually can't get answers from the superintendent in a ready fashion. We usually can't get those answers. Every now and then we might, and we don't just go to the board. We won't go to you directly or to Ms. Candace Woods directly. But a lot of times we do go directly to the board chairperson, and we might include the co-chair. Now they do, we got thumbs up when they like what we say. There's some questions we ask. I just want to put it out there that we just get flat out no answer on. So tell us how the go teams are chosen.
Okay, yeah. So the go teams are elected by the actual school body. So the district, the board administration, we do not dive into controlling that process. That's a governance team that is led by the school. So the school hosts their own election to elect people to fill those seats, where you have your teacher and staff representation, student representation, also your community representation. And just to put out there, I serve as serving as vice chair of the board. A lot of we do, in fact, I hear from a lot of teachers and a lot of our leaders, and we do in fact take that feedback and look at some of the policies and look at some of the procedures that are in place that may not be the best fit or benefit our school, our principals and our teachers. One thing I often do discuss is the impact of a policy change versus where it is an impact of a regulation, where we can actually change the way we implement some of our policies. So I definitely want to put that out there. Our go teams or our governance teams at the local school level are the mechanism to actually bring a lot of those things to us as well. But they also drive that autonomy and flexibility at the schools that we're talking about.
Let's talk about the elections. Who are the people voting for the go team?
Yeah, so the people that are voting for the go teams are the school, the faculty and staff of the school, the community parents that are involved, the students that attend the schools. No one, board members, we don't vote into any of the go teams.
Is it a secret ballot? And is it counted in front of folk, or how?
No, it's not a secret ballot. Like, it's very clear on who's running for the positions on the go teams at the various schools. Now, the way the votes are counted and the ballots are counted, the process of the counting, it is a tradition, everyone votes, the results come out, and then those results are sent down to the administration in regards to certifying those votes at the school level.
How are the candidates nominated?
The candidates are nominated from the school community. Yeah, so at that school, the parents are nominated. The school system, the board and the administration, we do not nominate for the go teams.
I know. I'm not saying you do. I'm just trying to get an understanding for the public.
Yes.
About these go teams, how transparent, how fair. We want to make sure that the process, all of this stuff that especially us Black women are saying about fair elections. We just want to make sure it's real.
Absolutely. Fair. Exactly. So all of that process.
Democratic.
Yes, all of that process is from the schools. So the school community nominates individuals who they want to serve to represent them on that school's go team. Now that could be, they want to nominate parents, or they want to nominate the community member that comes in and volunteers to help at the school. If there are certain students that have exhibited strong leadership abilities, those nominations are coming from the schools, the actual school communities. Yes.
Okay. All right. So now, in preparation for life and the future as you see it, you're a lot younger than I am, and your future and I don't know if you have kids' futures, grandkids' futures look a lot different from ours. And none of us have a crystal ball. What could Atlanta Public Schools do to prepare our students to be world-class citizens, competitors, and folk who cooperate in the world. What other type of models do we need to offer? We may not be able to offer them in the next 4 years, but we got to start planning somewhere that we're currently not offering.
Yeah. I've one thing I've been very vocal about, and again, I'll keep going to the community I represented because we've been grossly marginalized and have been heavily impacted in negative ways, whether it was a cheating scandal or even demanding rigor for our students and opportunities. I have always pushed a holistic approach in focusing on early learning, making sure our children have rigorous course offerings and our families are being supported in that engagement effort. The other part of that is once our students is creating a solid pathway of opportunities from our students when they leave the schoolhouse and once they graduate, whether that's a partnership with the city or other entities. I have firmly believed in a community school model where we can actually create all of those things and have all those things hosted at the actual school and the school is the conduit of these services and this collective action that needs to happen. We have looked at that. We have looked at that data and we have also looked at not only the impact, but also the financial investment that needs to happen. I firmly believe that that is part of the holistic approach of ensuring that once our children start in APS as early as 4 years old and have these opportunities every single year until they graduate, and also with partnerships that once they graduate, children who wants to go to college, they are going to college and they're supported through college, but also if they want to go into a career and have and take on a trade or additional certification, that those opportunities are afforded to them as well, which is also why I pushed and advocated for the creation of the Atlanta College and Career Academy in the old Parks Middle School building in Pittsburgh, with the firm understanding that our children need to have a vast array of options afforded to them. But once they do graduate from APS, I do feel that our partnership with the city needs to strengthen and our partnership with other entities where these opportunities are afforded to our students and where that continuous support and development can continue to happen at least into the late part of their young adult years.
Is Atlanta comprehensively tracking these students who are coming out of the vocational programs right now?
I'm sorry?
Atlanta comprehensively tracking the students who are coming out of those programs?
Yes, they are. This is the second year of the Atlanta College and Career Academy. So it opened last year, of course, with COVID, things went virtual. And so it did build out, we do have build out that tracking component. So, and I would encourage you to definitely look into it because it is something on the forefront of what I firmly believe is offering solid career options, pathways, and also that bridge that our children need once they graduate from Atlanta Public Schools.
Great accountability that was just fairly posted. Where are these children now serving? What kind of jobs they have, like 100 Black men did at Archer High School way back. And I've gone to several programs and they're able to name every graduate where they are right now. So that'll be good for us to know.
Yeah.
All right, next, you mentioned the cheating scandal. Do you know any other cities that were named in the cheating scandal as Atlanta was named?
Yeah, there was a few cities. I mean, you saw the high rates that happened in New York, Chicago Express. There were high rates that was in Miami that went unnoticed. And even if I can think, I can't remember the city in California. There were a few states and few school systems that also had this issue. That more importantly, I think the larger issue was in regards to the assessment culture that was created and the way we were evaluating students and the accountability put strongly on one test, which I, as an educator, is firmly against.
Can you speak to the percentage of educators in Atlanta who were named by the GBI in the report? I know it's a smaller percentage that were indicted, and many of them were administrators. Unfortunately, we still see them as educators and members of the community. But do you remember what percentage was actually indicted of the community?
No, I don't remember the exact percentage, but if I can guesstimate, it was roughly what were there 12 to 13 individuals that were formed.
Yeah, out of thousands of people.
Exactly. So I was going to say you're looking at point
Yeah.
0.02% of a school, of the school system that was that was indicted in under that circumstance, which was very extremely unfortunate.
All right, tell us. All right, I'm going to name some communities, and I want you to just name one. Just name one.
Yes, ma'am.
that the board tends to lean just a little bit, in your opinion, in terms of representing more than enough than any other? Okay, so in the first group, we're gonna lump parents and kids together, parents and students together, brother. Then employees would be one. Private sector would be another. Non-profit would be one. And we're gonna put churches outside of that, so we give them a category all of their own. So if you could say that Atlanta, on this past board, in terms of perception and or reality, has served one, and we're not trying to pit anybody against each other, we want to make that perfectly clear, more so than any other, which one would you say? Which area is board?
It's so I can't give just one. What I will give, well, okay, if you want me to be honest with you, I would say we have leaned a lot more towards our staff and our teachers and our workforce in this space. Our compensation strategy and support for our workforce, we invested over 20 million to right size our staff. We have approved putting psychologists and social workers in all of our schools. We have evolved and transformed professional development. We have created these opportunities for our staff. And so the reason why I can't choose just one group, because I think starting there and understanding that having great students and great parents involved in our schools starts with our workforce and starts with us. I do feel that we've leaned a lot in that space to support that group with the indirect benefit that it's going to impact our students and parents in a right way.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Buckhead situation. There's talk about Buckhead seceding from the city of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand on that? What would be the effect of that? What do you see pros and cons of that being, if Buckhead seceding or not? Just give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I will say my thoughts on it. I don't agree with it. I think if there's issues, community issues that are happening, there are other ways to address it. So from day one, I've been very vocal of not agreeing with the secession of Buckhead. In regards to so there's been this this conversation about, well, what about the schools? Well, what about the schools? Our schools will remain Atlanta Public Schools. There won't, any conversation of whatever the secession of these schools into Buckhead, I'm not willing to have. So I don't agree with the secession of Buckhead. I think there are other ways to address the issues that community is facing, but seceding is not the right way.
Okay, Ron Fowler, you have a question, right? You're gonna? No, it's two. Oh, he's let me know it's two. There's one last question that we have, Ms. Collins, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Frankie and I were very young when we heard Albert Shanker talk about charter schools and what the original intent of charter schools are. And we have a very hard time finding the justification, we're just gonna let you know, of the improvements that charter schools, as reported, have done based on the money spent by Atlanta Public Schools and private charter school companies. We have a hard time with that. And we cannot find where these charter schools, and since they are run by these companies that should be doing great things, we cannot find a justification for continuously giving contracts and spending a lot of money in that area. Some people say, well, they've made some improvements over the regular schools, but they should make a hell of a lot more improvement based on the reason that they were put in. So we want to hear you talk about charter schools and the intent going forward, because we disagreed with so many things in the past for giving those schools away. And we've seen many Teach for America people, they're great ones, but they get into government, a lot of them are tapped. We see them going to city halls, not just in the city of Atlanta, but all over the United States, where they affect policy. And the people can dress it up any kind of way that they want to, but that means special contracts for special folk.
Mhm.
So tell us what you think about charter schools, being that you've been on a board that has perpetuated charter schools. I know Jason Estevez once said, I know he's not here, we're going to talk to him, that AFT was for charter schools, but not the type of charter schools that Atlanta has been awarding people. So just give us your spiel on charter schools. No judgment here, but we want to hear it.
Yeah, so I've been very clear and I've been very vocal about the fact that since I've been on the board, we have not approved any new charter schools to enter Atlanta Public Schools. And I want to be very clear on that. But what people also need to understand is Atlanta has the highest number of charter schools in the state. And that is, yeah, we do. And so that a large part of that is because previous boards and previous administrations have done that. And so what we have done is held charter schools accountable in regards to the progress that they've made. Now, what I will say, some of our charter schools are, where I know you said they're not, I don't know what's the expectations or what are the expectations on your end in regards to them, but some of our charter schools are some of our higher performing schools in the district. Because I've seen a diverse portfolio of both, that I am charter neutral. It is my job as a board member to ensure that it's not my job as a board member to choose what school your child goes to and what community, whatever that community is. It is my job as a board member to ensure that all of our schools are high quality schools. But I will stand firm on being in a space where I have listened to the communities in regards to the education and what they want. And so I've been put in positions since being a board member, and I can give names of fighting against charter schools because communities have said, we want to invest in our traditional school. We are loving what's happening in our traditional schools, and we don't have a charter school in that space because I put community voice, parent voice, and student voice as a priority in deciding whether to make that happen or not. And so there are examples where you have some charter schools that are in communities where the community really did in fact support it. And because of that, they are sending their kids to the schools. And so I will stop there where, in regards to that, there is no hidden agenda with me. Because I did TFA 19 years ago, and I know there's been a contentious issue as I was a former member of AFT. Just because I was a TFA alum does not make me come with a hidden agenda or come with any kind of contracts or whatever the conspiracy theories are behind it. I am from Atlanta. I am a former educator in Atlanta Public Schools. I've committed my career to education, and I've committed my career to ensuring that all of our children and our families have a great education experience. Has it been a fight? Absolutely. Are we there yet? No, we're not. But there are some great things that are happening, and there are some great things that there are some improvements that need to be made. And being on the board again will allow me to actualize those things.
You answered that. That's why you want to go. But we pushed for time. But you just answered one of my questions about being back on the board. If the public was going to judge, just give me 5 areas. If the public had 5 areas, just like they do on not Say Yes to the Dress, but for weddings. I don't know if you've ever watched that. Have you ever watched that show?
Yes, I have.
How they rank people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How these brides rank each other. What are the 4 areas that the public should judge a board candidate in? What are those? What are the 4 areas you'd like to see ranked?
Mm-hmm.
Now, every person you need to know, we're asking some questions we haven't asked the other 2, but you're a veteran board member. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, so every board member is not being asked, every candidate is not being asked.
Like you'll see that some board members are asked different questions, but some of you all are asked the same questions. And based on what you're saying, we're ad-libbing a little bit or adding, and everybody will see all the recording. And we'll let the candidates come back to us with answers for what things that they want to answer that they were not asked, so we can let the public see. But
so the 4 things that I would list, and not in any particular order, that I think people should look into their board member, is accessibility. How accessible has that person or that candidate will be or has been in regards to response, visiting schools, understanding the community, being out there. The second I would say is accountability. How has that board member, or how do they perceive that candidate will be accountable for driving student improvement and making things happen for the district? And so that comes from policies, that comes from actions, that comes from actual deliverables, and being able to discuss all of the success and progress that's happened. I will say achievement. Achievement is a big thing. What has that board member done, or what will that candidate for the board will do to increase achievement for students on all levels? Are we still in what has progress been? What are our key areas of what are our key areas of focus and improvement, and what are those priorities are? And then the fourth I would say is the board members or the candidates understanding of equitable practices, and also just ensuring that all voices are brought to the table in regards to engagement, to ensure that we are collecting everyone's voice and making decisions and moving the district forward. And so I think those four things, like I said, accountability, accessibility, achievement, and understanding and moving and action of equity is key. I think that the community should know about and ask of their board, of the person who they want to select as a board member.
I suppose you're not an incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes.
Area.
And that's why I said if they
be able to judge folk who are not incumbents. So let's just say every seat is wide open, there's no incumbent. What should you be looking for? Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. That's why I said, or a candidate, because I still think a candidate will be able to give examples of their accessibility, or how involved they've been in the community, what has been their impact. Accountability, I think a candidate will be able to show, like, these are some of the things that I've done, and this has been the example of me being held, of holding myself accountable to making changes in my community. I think achievement is key. I think that a candidate should be able to talk about, like I said, every board member has been an educator or a parent. We have examples of what we've seen achievement in our respective areas, and also what we didn't see it. And then I think equity is something that should be on everyone's, that everyone should think about as we look at the gross disparities that exist in a district where you have some of the poorest communities in the city, and you drive less than 5 to 10 miles, and you have some of the richest communities in the city. So I don't think you have to be an incumbent to have those same. I don't think you have to be an incumbent for the community to hold you accountable for, look at those same four things to determine your candidacy for the school board.
My coworker just texted me. There is one that I was remiss in asking. We know that we communicate with parents via emails and maybe Twitter, but everybody's not on email and Twitter or what have you. Parents who are not taking advantage of IT and electronics and et cetera, what efforts can the school board improve on in terms of reaching the guardian of every child in the city of Atlanta to make sure that they don't wait for parents to reach out, but they are reaching out to parents and communicating constantly? I mean, every darn one of them, and that that they've been reached out to.
Yeah, so definitely I think it goes beyond all the methods that we have in place is just not the Twitter and email. We do have our, phone services, text services, but we do have our parent liaisons that are at our schools as well, that are ensuring that our parents have all the information. It was so on the higher level of it, we knew that engagement that engagement was an issue, which is why we created FACE, our Family and Community Engagement Department, for this very reason, to think about what are all the ways that we can push information out to our families, get information out to our families, and ensure that every parent or community or grandparent, everyone is informed.
So what are some of those recommendations that they've made to you?
Yeah, yep. So a combination was increasing, like, I would say on the digital side, our text service, we brought in Let's Talk, that if someone wants to text or create or ask about something or file a complaint, it goes directly, like, boom, ping, could go to a person's phone, but also on our at the school level, our parent liaisons, there are actually sometimes canvassing efforts. I've been a part of an actual canvassing effort where we had to go house to house and knock on doors and actually deliver information to parents or their guardians where there was a responsive. So there has been a collective of all of those efforts in place. What has made the difference is having a solid plan of what that engagement looked like, which varies from community to community.
Is there a parent liaison that's active at every school?
Yes, there should be now, and I do know, and I don't know this off the top of my head, there should be a parent liaison that is active at every school. I know that some schools have struggled with some. I don't know off the top of my head, but there should be.
Okay, very good. Thank you. They've let me know I'm running over time. We want to thank you for your answers, and thank you for coming with us today. And again, reach out to Central Labor Council, because I don't want them to make any recommendations without going through teacher organizations or listening. And again, just thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to tell you, but you're young, so you got a while to wait for this. I told one of the candidates that's from Atlanta, I said they're going to hang out with heads on the wall when we die, because we are very rare.
Wait, who said that?
We are very rare.
Right, we are definitely unicorns.
Very rare.
We're definitely unicorns, right?
Yeah. All right.
All right, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.